Texas is one of the more conservative states in the country, and they have tried to pour all the Democrats have tried to pour money and money and money and money and money into Texas. Remember, turn Texas blue, the Texas Blue Project, and it failed miserably, pouring hundreds of millions of dollars, almost billions of dollars. And Texas delivered a triumphant victory for President Donald Trump. A 14-point victory is unthinkable margins. But what good is a 14-point victory for President Trump in Texas when you have Republicans that are going to work with Democrats to elect a Speaker of the House? Joining us now is Abraham George, chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. Abraham, welcome to the program. Abraham, please educate our audience on what is happening in the great state of Texas.
Charlie, thank you for having me here. Tomorrow is the speaker's race here in the state of Texas, Texas House. And what we usually have for the last decade or so, a small group of Republicans going to Democrats, which is the minority party here. This time it is 62 members from the Democrat side, 88 from our side. Some Republicans will partner with the Democrats to choose a moderate or a RINO Republican, for lack of a better term, to put as a speaker. Then they will go and kill all the conservative bills in Texas House. The Texas Senate is very conservative. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and the group will pass good legislation. One of the legislation that got killed last time is the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government is buying land in Texas, especially around our military bases. And there was a bill to stop that. And some of the Republicans, along with all of the Democrats, said it's a racist bill and we're going to kill it. And they killed it. Now we have a national security issue in Texas. The last year, we talked about border protection while Biden was in office. And Texas did what we can do, but it could have been a lot better if we had a conservative speaker. This is the same group who went and impeached the Texas Attorney General. So this year, the party said, if we're not going to support a real Republican speaker who will support reforms in Texas House by putting only Republicans in committee chairmanship. That's another thing they do. They put Democrats in committee chairmanships and give a lot more power to Democrats than they deserve in Texas. So if we do that, we're going to not only come after you, we're going to censure you, we're going to put you we're going to educate your constituents, and we're going to come after you, basically. So this has been going on for the last couple of months. Governor Abbott is on board with the caucus nominee, which is David Cook. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is on board with it. All of our statewide elected officials are on board with it. Most of our county parties are on board with it. But a small group of Republicans joining the Democrats, most likely going to elect a speaker. At least they're going to try to do that tomorrow, which is what we're fighting at this point.
Yeah, so to walk through this, there is David Cook's, the conservative choice, Dustin Burrows, yourself, Cody Harris. So there's a lot of these different dynamics here. Can you just reinforce, though, that there's a group of Republicans that are willing to vote with a Democrat, or Democrats willing to vote with a Republican, or vice versa? Just, it's so hard for me to comprehend this.
So, in Minnesota, you heard this a couple of days ago, they have one seat majority, and they decided we're going to elect a speaker by the Republican caucus, which is the normal thing to do, which is what everybody does. In Texas, a group of Republicans will join the Democrats and elect a speaker who is backed majority by the Democrats. So
that's
the
unbelievable to me.
Yes, it's the craziest thing. And it started happening in 2008 when Barack Obama got elected. Our margins went down from 76 to 74, and we had two seat majority. So all these Republicans who were kind of like very Democrat in their heart, they said, well, this is an opportunity for us to go work with the Democrats and get a speaker who we can control. And that's what they've been doing ever since. Our margin now is 88. We actually had added 2 more seats to the Texas House this time around. We were 86. We have 88 members, and all we need is 76. But we can't get 76 Republicans to support the Republican nominee. they're supporting a Democrat nominee, or they're joining the Democrat Party to give power away to the Democrats. This is craziest thing in Texas. I don't know if you heard this. Don Jr. got involved in this and said, what are you all doing in Texas? This is not the right way to do things. President Trump won by 12 points. We flipped 12 out of the 14 South Texas counties. One of the counties have never elected a Republican for the last 130 years. We got Donald Trump elected at 14 points. We have a clear mandate. I mean, I listen to your show, and you understand this more than anybody. There is a clear mandate for the Republican Party and for the elected officials. And what we have in Texas is, unfortunately, a lot of these Republicans who used the party's name to get elected is real Democrats. And they're going to go put Democrats in charge. And parties are working against them. So we spent a lot of money over the last two and a half months educating our constituents, saying this is what's happening in Texas. And one of the legislators, Cody Harris, took that as a legislative bribery for the party to send mailers to his district, which will potentially affect his reelection, and file the Texas ethics violation against me personally, saying the party chairman is bribing and threatening legislators, which is a crime punishable by a minimum of 2 years in prison. So this is how crazy they are, and how far they're willing to go against the party and the grassroots in Texas.
This is extraordinary stuff, Abraham. And so we see this kind of uniparty composition here. Is it time for widespread parties? And by the way, is there anything in the Constitution that prohibits a simple majority vote? Just so you guys understand, it would be like if we did a Speaker of the House in this current House, and we had to go get Nancy Pelosi and to go get Hakeem Jeffries to go support our speaker candidate, correct? Instead, no, it's Mike Johnson supported by only Republicans. Is that right, Abraham? And who came up with this stupid system?
That is absolutely right. So if 10 or 15 Republicans go to Jeffries and say, hey, if you put one of us as a speaker, but we will give you all the committee chairmanships you need, and we will pass all of your bills, and we will do everything you guys want. That's crazy. You don't see that in U.S. House, and thank God we don't see that. I mean, I like that bipartisanships once in a while, but I don't want this. But that's what's happening in Texas. It's been going on for about 12 years, actually 14 years now. But ever since that tradition started, that's their excuse. Well, that's been a tradition in Texas. It's not. It started at the same time when Barack Obama got elected, because we did not have enough Republicans who had the balls to stand up and say, hey, we're going to still support a Republican nominee, and we're going to have a conservative as a speaker, and we're going to pass some conservative bills. But they're basically giving power away to Hakeem Jeffries, and that's exactly what they're doing in Texas House.
I know you're the state party chair, so you have to be careful the way you answer. However, what's going on with Mr. Cornyn potentially being primaried by Paxton? Or do you just kind of the grassroots, just look at it from an analytical standpoint?
Well, there is a lot of people who are excited to hear that Paxton is considering that, especially during your AmFest. I think that's when Paxton literally went out and said, hey, I am praying about it. I did have a conversation with him a few days ago when we were traveling across the state about the speaker's race. And I asked him, hey, what are your thoughts? And he said, well, Abraham, I'm praying about it. We're looking at numbers. So I don't know if he's going to do it. There is people who are very upset with John Cornyn on certain issues, and there is a lot of people who just like him. So we don't know. Be honest with you, we don't know what's going to happen. I know there's a lot of interest in Texas to primary the senator, but is it going to happen, and is it going to be successful? It's a whole different conversation. And because Texas is a huge state, and it takes a lot of money to run for Senate here. Ted Cruz just spent, I think, about $300 million doing this. So it's not a small task. So we don't know.
Moving forward, what can we do to make the Republican Party more representative of its voters?
Well, one thing is we need conservatives running in 2026. And that goes from all across the state for real Republicans, for who actually gets America First agenda, who actually will stand for state of Texas to run in the Republican ballot. Not everyone's going to be successful, but we just replaced about 25, 26 members who were against the school choice, who were out there impeaching Ken Paxton, one of our favorite attorney generals in the entire nation. So party is doing the right thing. We are moving forward, but we need you and your audience to wake up, talk to them and wake them up a little bit and get them to the polls and actually get them to engage with the candidate who is actually going to be a MAGA candidate. And that's what we've been doing. And it's very controversial when the party does it because, you're going against one Republican who is actually sometimes in office. We actually went against Tony Gonzalez as a congressman. We went against Dade Phelan as the House rep and as a former speaker. So there was a lot of unhappy people when the party does it. But when the grassroots do it, that's a whole different angle. And party can be somewhat neutral unless there's really horrible Republicans who does some really horrible things against the party platform and its principles. And one thing that changed in the last convention, which is we have one of the largest conventions, about 10,000 people come together every 2 years to put our platform and our priorities. Would love to have you as a speaker on the next one in 26.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah. And they came together and they said the party's name belongs to the people, not to the electorate, the elected officials. So they basically said, if you're not going to play by the rules that's set by these grassroots members, they're going to hold you off from the ballot. They're going to say you cannot run as a Republican. You can run as a Democrat or independent, but the Republican Party's name belongs to the grassroots members, not to the elected officials. So there is a lot of that going on, conversations, which is one of the reasons why Cody Harris thinks he can actually file a felony charge against me if I were to remove him from the ballot. But it's not up to the chairman; it's up to the members of the party who makes that decision, and it comes with a lot of censoring, things like that, and he has to violate multiple rules and all of those things. But at the same time, that gives the party a lot of power over elected officials, and they hate that. But I think the people are waking up, and your audience can help a lot by making that phone call, talking to the elected officials, and also showing up to the Capitol. Starting tomorrow, the session starts for 140 days. We only meet 140 days every other year. So they need to show up and say, this is a bill that I like. I want you to actually work on this and support this, get behind this, pass it.
Thank you, Abraham. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're out of time. Great work. Talk to you soon. Would love to come to your convention. Keep Texas red and responsive to its voters.